Lately, I've been able to carve out a few comic books that are bringing me happiness and joy, and I want to talk about three new comic books that fall into my category of good, bad, and meh. All right, the biggest comic book right now is probably Ultimate Spider-Man, and Ultimate Spider-Man #4 dropped. And if you've looked at some of the comic book sales, I'll put the link in the description of one of the report indicators that kind of shows multiple printings have got Ultimate Spider-Man in the top 50. It's pulled along other Spider-Man titles, in my opinion. It's really kind of carrying Marvel right now. So issue #4 comes out, and what happens? A bunch of people are going to stand around and talk. That's right. They're going to drink, they're going to eat, and they're going to get on each other's nerves. That's exactly what you wanted in the wake of finding out Harry Osborn was the Green Goblin. And the Goblin figured out that through their tech that Peter is Spider Man. We'll put them in a room. Let's see what happens. And here's what's going to happen, they're not going to do much of anything. The first thing you notice is that we have a guest artist. That's right, David Messina. So only 3 issues in, we already have a guest artist. And the big reveal in the first, this is like our intro of them getting together for this big dinner. Bum bum bum. Gwen Stacy is his wife. It's all been figured out now because obviously she didn't die in this timeline where we don't have superheroes and Peter Parker never becomes Spider-Man, but now it's all unpacking differently in this new little Jonathan Hickman knockoff Ultimate Universe. And we're going to sit around and we're going to have food time. I didn't last very long before I already was like face palming because I got to this. I got to them literally a panel of food, a panel of MJ eating, a panel of MJ eating, Gwen eating, and then this. Now, even in this timeline, MJ is supposed to be a former model. She's pretty polished, and I'm like, what has happened? This is a very high end 5-star type restaurant that Harry's got them into. Um, Yeah, followed up with Gwen and her throwing food in her mouth, and I'm like, "Who wants to see this?" Like, who I hate this phrase being overutilized as "Who is this for?" But I literally am like, "Okay, you finally got to some action in Ultimate Spider-Man, and this is what you give me." Oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it, and it only gets worse, because then they go off to the bathroom and you get these like here wine glass reflection #1. They go off to, oh, so okay, where are the kids? So MJ and Peter have 2 kids. Where are they? We cut to the pink purple side story of them with the kids. And here's May. May does not like JJ. And we cut back. Again, shot of food, shot of the meeting, awkward, blah blah. Reflection of wine glass. Oh yeah, I go to the bathroom. Want to go to the bathroom? Oh, flashback, pink purple, and they're in the restroom. Now, what is worse about the bathroom scene is it's out of order to what comes next. Because what comes next is Harry and Peter talking about the fact that Peter didn't tell MJ he's Spider Man, but Gwen now knows. So when they go off to the bathroom and it's like, I have something to talk to you about, it would have been more interesting to at least have that flip flop. So we thought, oh, Gwen's going to, hey, do you know Peter? What's it like, banging Spider Man? Something. I don't know. Instead, it's this, we're so rich. We know we need to figure out where to put our money. And we know Ben Parker and JJ are doing this paper, and I have no problem throwing a bunch of money away. These are like the most irritating, conceited, hard to be around people. Like, oh man, Harry and Gwen are just unbearably bad. And it just makes Peter and MJ just be uncomfortable and awkward. They have kids, so they don't relate to these people, which Hickman, I think, is trying to go for some of that. But why do we care about all of this restaurant stuff being drug on it for? This is the back and forth over you didn't tell MJ. And Peter's like, why would I do that? Like, it puts her at risk if everybody knows who I am. So that's literally this, and literally just pages and another glass reflection, pages and pages of just unbearable. And Harry is just such an unlikable human being in this comic book. This comic book is a unmitigated disaster. Nothing ever happens. They just start walking. That's how it ends. Yeah, this is my bad comic. I could of the three. I couldn't believe this is what we got this week. All right, so that'll take me on over to Conan. Now, Titan Comics has done a great thing with Conan because they have ventured to go where Marvel and others haven't gone, and that is make him an actual barbarian. So it is for mature audiences. This is not for kids. It is intense and graphic, and what a barbarian actually would be. This issue kind of comes on the heels of some different action and different things that are going on. I don't want to get too far into this one. Again, there is some mature content in this one as well. But you have this sort of like massive setup that goes on the first few pages. And it turns out that it's actually a dream sequence by the king. And here they have them in prison. So you have Conan um, here and his friend. So you have them in prison, and now they're gonna be like, "Oh no, no, we have to get them out of jail and go on this mission with me." So that's where they're gonna go, and it's sort of a filler episode with them at sea, them sort of like, I don't know, there's a little bit of scuffling and stuff and arm wrestling and things like that before he starts like bagging some hot chick because, this is how she's drawn here coming up right there. So yeah, he's gonna do that because the barbarian has needs. It's not even, like, subtle at all, like, it's just you know exactly what's going to happen, you know when it's gonna happen, you know how things are gonna shape up and things like that, so that's how that all plays out. Then they're basically interrupted by pirates, and you have a little bit of adventuring at the very tail end of it, but really, it's sort of like just more of like a filler issue. It doesn't really move a whole lot forward in any way, shape, or form and things like that. It's just sort of like going to the next book. But I will say, as I have with the entire series, that the artwork is phenomenal. It's immersive. It just makes you want to read more. Yeah, this is great stuff. So while I will say that I'm a little meh on the book, De La Torre's art is probably the biggest thing that carries this for me. I really enjoyed it for that, and I'm willing to go on. It's definitely my meh book of the week. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's the book that's in between issues number 9 and what comes next. So the great book of the week, which really shouldn't surprise me, but it does constantly continue to surprise me. Like, how could it keep being good if not great? Is Duke number 5. It wraps up the Duke miniseries and it leads right into more G.I. Joe. And the art is one of those things where it has moments that I'm not particularly thrilled about. Um, but at the same time, it's like he's Duke. He's in this major fight that's going on before we get introduced to Destro. And Destro is kind of cool and classier than I would have expected. It's not really the Destro that's like I remember from the cartoon or anything like that. He's got a lot more swagger about him, with not only how he dresses, but how he holds himself. Here he kind of talks to him a little bit about what's been going on. And of course, Duke thinks, and here's the flashback in Duke's head. I saw one of your robots. It turned into a robot from a jet and killed Tyler Frost. It killed my friend. And then you have the big reveal. Destro's like, it turned into fascinating. Well, that's not one of mine. And then, of course, Duke's shocked. So the twist in this issue that really does a great job of setting up more comics. Obviously, there's a Destro miniseries coming and more GI Joe. Is Duke's thinking that he's been on the trail. He's going to figure out who's behind the Decepticons, and in fact, it's not Destro. And he has sort of like this: we have a common foe, we have a common enemy. Give me your hand. Let's join me. And he kind of does. Then he headbutts the metal head. He's like, "Are you nuts?" And then he just, all right, fine, triggers the robot, and they start fighting. The fight sequence here, if you don't want spoilers, you might want to check out. Come back, let me know. I thought it was freaking fantastic, and I'll get to you why. I'm still sort of in shock at this Joshua Williamson because I read other things by Joshua Williamson I don't find very interesting. It is so well done and so well executed in every way. Okay, you've been warned. Spoilers. They start fighting, and obviously he's having a hard time defeating a robot, right? So as he's doing this, he's trying to pull on the head. He starts beating him with the head, and there's fire that because he has a flamethrower built into him, so the flamethrower is just going crazy. So he just starts pummeling this thing, and as he does, they intercut his flashbacks to Starscream squashing his friend. Here he is pummeling him, flashback smash. It's just beautifully done, and he's barely able to stand. Here's them getting away, Destro leaving, and there's Duke, and there's the big explosion, and that, at least on the surface, appears to be the end of Duke. Now, if you don't want spoilers, really don't want spoilers. Okay, yeah, Duke's not dead, right? We have a newscast about the death of Duke, and then Duke wakes up, and you have Hawk, and you have we're building a team basically. So yeah, GI Joe, man, GI Joe. I I'm still in shock at how good all this is. It just makes me want to buy more. I really want to try to do a video about some of the actual comics and show you like all of the 1 to 10 variant covers form a puzzle and one big giant picture. Some of those kinds of things were really super cool as well for fans. But yeah, that's my good, bad, and meh for this week. And yeah, Duke is definitely the best book. I couldn't believe it. Conan is fine. It's great. Makes me want to keep going along. And Ultimate Spider-Man, I wouldn't say I'm giving up on the series yet. but it was a major step backwards and a complete waste of our time and money. I couldn't believe there's nothing actually happening. I thought there were going to be some sort of like side story, backstory that's happening outside the restaurant and create conflict, and they'd have to decide they're going to turn into their alter egos or not, that kind of thing. But guess what? None of that happened. So that's my thoughts on this. Hopefully, getting caught up on a little bit of comic book talk. There's so much more to get to. I just don't have the time, but hopefully, you're finding good stuff to read. Hit me up in the comments. Thanks for watching. I am Pops.